I have a very interesting situation. So what if like a grad student is they at their fourth year or fifth year really want to graduate, but the PI has like the largest power to whether you can graduate or not. So that power indifference, and then the values start to differentiate a little bit, and then the students feel like maybe that's one of the reasons why grad students feel very anxious, because their PI holds so much power over them, and they feel not very supported, and then they don't know what other resources they can find in this kind of situation. What should a student do?
Well, so this is actually a really good question. I think what the grad students should try to do is to have a clear sense from earlier stages, before the fourth or the fifth year, of what the PI has in mind for them to graduate. So in my lab, people graduate between 4 and 5 years, somewhere in that range, but 5, maybe 5 1/4, sometimes 4 1/2, so in that range. But I think that sense that what does it take, what would make a complete thesis, and sort of work towards that, and be mindful of that. At the same time, I think the departments in general have a role to play to make sure that power imbalance is not abused, right? That the committee meetings are meaningful, that the committee meetings offer insight, and that the committee meetings are able to engage the students and give them a path. And in some ways it goes both ways, that the student also should be proactive in making sure that they are engaging with their PI to understand what the PI wants. It is not to say that the PI is always right, not at all. Sometimes the PI's expectations are incorrect, and then there are ways to resolve that. And we all hope that it doesn't get to that, but if it does get to that, the department should have means to that. But my hope is that that problem becomes less pervasive and doesn't happen often enough if there's a clear sense on what constitutes a good thesis, what has been done, and what is left. And you know, I recognize fully the power that the PIs have and the dynamic, which is unfortunate. In my group, I try to play the role more of an advisor than a boss, right? So historically, this was called PhD advisor, that the person is advising you on your journey as opposed to the boss. And I want to play that role, that I'm able to advise you and I'm able to guide you rather than you are beholden to my wishes. And I don't think I'm perfect. I don't think anybody is perfect, but I really think about that deeply. I tell my students, and again, every lab is different, so I don't want to sort of generalize, but I tell my students, for example, that when their papers or their research becomes mechanical, in other words, when they feel that the next paper is just a small perturbation of the previous one, it's time to graduate, right? Because each paper should offer something new and exciting. It should not be sort of just a mechanical motion of going from one to the other. That just defeats the purpose of the whole thing. But I also recognize that I am at a different stage of my career. I am done with my promotion, so people have different pressures. So I don't want to take that away. But at the same time, I think a culture of understanding, a culture of respect, a culture of recognition of people's efforts is absolutely important.
Got it. Wow, I really like your answer.